Jai Sri Ram, Jai Jai Sri Ram. In this video, we will discuss how nerve impulse generate, how action potential generate in a neuron. I have one innocent neuron, oh my god, it's so innocent neuron, you see, and it accepted some kind of stimulus from surrounding. This stimulus, what is stimulus, student? Stimulus is a kind of change in environment. Yes. So this neuron accepted the stimulus. Once they accepted the stimulus can be heat, it can be any kind of change in temperature, sound, light, vibration, touch, pain, pressure, anything. Once the dendrites of neuron accepted that stimulus, they taken that stimulus to the cell body. Yes, they taken the stimulus to cell body. Now in the cell body, action potential generated, and this action potential, now it will transmit through the axon, and it will go to their destination. This destination, maybe they will go to the brain, they will go to the spinal cord, wherever they have to go, they will go. But question is that how this action potential generated is so interesting to know. Okay, so before accepting stimulus, scientists have observed that when a neuron which is present at resting state, in that neuron at resting state, the charge is minus 70 millivolt. Yes, the average charge will be nearby minus 70 millivolt. Across the plasma membrane, that means the inside the neuron, the charge will be negative. Yes. Yes. And outside the neuron, the concentration of sodium ion is very high. So obviously outside the neuron, it will be the positively charged. Yes. Right. So we have a neuron. Okay, I'm making the same thing in the different way. I have one neuron, and this is the intracellular fluid of the neuron, cytoplasm of the neuron, and this is the extracellular fluid of the neuron outside, and this is the plasma membrane of the neuron. Right. So it is observed that if I have a neuron which is present at the resting state, in that neuron the internal charge is minus, negatively charged, right, and outside it is positively charged. Question is that how this positive, the inside minus charge and outside positive charge is maintained. So it's interesting to know. Actually, in the plasma membrane of the neuron, not only neuron, even any other cell also, different type of pump and channels are present. What are these pump and channels? These pump and channels are specific kind of protein integrated into the plasma membrane, and they only facilitate transfer of ions. Yes. So in this plasma membrane of our neuron, one pump present, and this pump is called sodium potassium pump. Whenever the sodium potassium pump work, they will always pump two potassium ion inside the cell and 3 sodium ion outside of the cell. Yes, sodium potassium pump is a pump that facilitate transport of 2 sodium ion inside, sorry, 2 potassium ion inside and 3 sodium ion outside, and they uses 1 ATP in this process. They break this ATP into ADP and inorganic phosphate. So it is observed that at resting state in a neuron, sodium potassium pump work. Yes, and they pump 2 sodium ions, 2 potassium ion inside, 3 sodium ion outside, and they expand ATP also. So it's example of active transport. So sodium potassium pump is working. Yeah, it's working. Then at the resting state only, it is observed that potassium ion voltage gated channel work. What is this potassium ion voltage gated channel? In the plasma membrane of the neurons, there are some proteins, right, which facilitate transport of potassium ion for as a passive transport. We all know inside the plasma membrane concentration of potassium ion is very high. Oh my god, very high, right? So whenever this potassium ion voltage gated channel will work, they will allow transport of potassium ion from high concentration to low concentration. Outside sodium ion is high, inside the cytoplasm potassium ion is high, right? So and the resting state, this potassium ion voltage gated channel is allowing potassium ion to go outside. Yes, they are allowing efflux of potassium ion. I'm writing here, efflux of potassium ion occurs. Yes, right. Sodium potassium pump is working. It's active or inactive? Yes, it's active. Fine. And now it is observed that if I have a neuron and is present at the resting state, at that resting state only the neuron sodium ion voltage get a channel, they will allow sodium ion enter inside the cell. You know, outside the cell, sodium ion is concentration is very high. 130 to 140 milliosmol per liter present normally, right? And the sodium ion, they will move inside the cell. So cumulative effect of the sodium potassium pump, sodium ion voltage get a channel and potassium ion voltage get a channel will be what? That resting state, resting potential will be maintained. Yes, and this sodium ion voltage gated channel is active. But remember students, sodium ion voltage gated channel is also active, which pumping sodium ion inside. Potassium ion voltage gated channel is also active, which pumping potassium ion outside. But if you'll see the rate, the sodium ion will, sodium ion pumping of influx of the sodium ion is comparatively very less. It's almost inactive, but it's almost inactive, not inactive, but it's almost inactive. Sodium ion voltage gated channel. Okay, fine. So this is the situation. Now this neuron, which is present at the resting state, it accepted stimulus, right? This stimulus, will cause change in the charge of the neuron. Yes, and if we have a stimulus, touch, pain, pressure, temperature, charge, whatever, until unless they will not bring this charge to minus 60 to minus 60 to minus 50 millivolt, the neuron is not going to generate action potential. So this value, the value which required to generate action potential, it's a kind of, it's a kind of ignition temperature which required for burning the fuel. Okay, so we have a neuron. If it have to, you want to generate action potential here, so minimum stimulus is required, and that minimum stimulus is called, that minimum potential is called threshold potential. Now what is value of that threshold potential, student? Minus 60 to minus 50 millivolt. So it will be like minus 10 to minus plus 10 to plus 20 millivolt stimulus will be added. Then this neuron will go for generation of action potential. Once neuron accepted this threshold stimulus, then immediately what happened in this neuron, all sodium ion voltage get a channel open. Oh my god, so that they are pumping lot of sodium ion inside the cell. Yes, you see how they are pumping lot of sodium ion, and immediately the charge of this neuron, it will shoot up to plus 30 millivolt. My god, now initially the neuron was positively charged from outside, now it's positively charged from inside. Why? Because charge came to plus 30 millivolt, outside it's negatively charged. Yes, so I'm repeating again, during the process, once they accepted threshold stimulus, sodium ion voltage get a channel open, and fast influx of, not slow, fast influx of sodium ion occurs. Okay, and that increases the that increases the charge, and the neuron got depolarized, present at excited state. At the time of depolarization, which exists nearby 0.5 second, yes, 0.5 second of the time, at the time of depolarization, this potassium ion voltage gated channel, is inactive. Yes, and sodium potassium pump is also not working. So potassium ion voltage gated channel is not working, sodium potassium pump is also not working. Then once they reach that, after 0.5 second of the time, they the charge inside the neuron started to decline. Yes, and the charge came again to minus 70 millivolt. Why it's happened? Because neuron is no, again they are coming back to their, trying to come back to their resting state, and that process is called repolarization. How this repolarization occurs, actually in this same plasma membrane, lot of potassium ion voltage gated channel present. Once the neuron will get depolarized, this voltage gated channel, potassium ion voltage gated channel, they will activate, and they will pump lot of potassium ion outside. Potassium ion efflux, potassium ion concentration inside the neuron is very high, so there will be potassium ion efflux, and this potassium ion efflux causes repolarization, right? And again charge inside the neuron come to negative, and outside it's positive charge. Fine. This time period is called repolarization. Repolarization, it take 1.5 to 2.5 second of the time, 2.5 millisecond of the time. Yes, right. Now question is that, what about sodium ion voltage gated channel during repolarization? During repolarization, sodium ion voltage gated channel is inactive, they are not working. During deep repolarization, potassium ion voltage gated channel, they are causing fast efflux of potassium ion. I am writing here fast efflux of potassium ion. Fine. And then we have sodium potassium pump. This sodium potassium pump is inactive. Fine. So this is how repolarization occurs. After repolarization, when charge was declining, it's reached to minus 90 millivolt, which is less than, resting potential. And why it's happened, even after reaching to charge of the reaching to the state of repolarization, at reaching to the charge of minus 70 millivolt, a slow leakage of potassium ion was continue. And this slow leakage of potassium ion, students, slow leakage of potassium ion through the leaky channels or lazy channels causes decline in charge to minus 90 millivolt, and this state is called hyperpolarization. Fine. At the time of hyperpolarization, sodium ion voltage gated channel is working? No. Sodium potassium pump is working? No. But this potassium ion voltage gated channel, they are causing slow leakage of potassium ion. Fine. So let's summarize it. We have a neuron accepted stimulus, right, and it's got depolarized due to influx of sodium ion, fast influx of sodium ion, and then it got repolarized, that is due to efflux of potassium ion, and then hyperpolarized minus 90 millivolt charge, that is due to the leakage of the potassium ion. Right, this whole process is only called action potential. So this process will happen here: depolarization, then repolarization, then same point hyperpolarization, then next point will be depolarized, then next point will be depolarized, depolarization, depolarization, depolarization. If you have myelinated neuron, then in that myelinated neuron, node of Ranvier present. What is node of Ranvier? Myelinated neuron have, that lipid mediated myelin is secreted by Schwann cell or oligodendrocyte cells. They will act like an insulator, they will act like an insulator, and actually they are covering the neuron, but there is some area in that myelinated neuron where this myelin sheath is not present, and that area is called node of Ranvier. So in myelinated neuron, when the nerve impulse will come to the axon, this nerve impulse will jump from one node of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier, and this jumping kind of conduction is called saltatory conduction. Yes, the reason is what, hello, see here, here it was depolarized, then this point depolarized, then this point depolarized, then this point depolarized. Problem is that here they cannot depolarize. Reason is what? That one thing, the sodium ion voltage gated channel and potassium ion voltage gated channel not present in this region, myelinated region. They are present only in the node of Ranvier, means the region where myelin sheath is not present, right? So at myelin sheath only sodium and potassium ion voltage gated channel present. So here only exchange of ions are possible, and here only the nerve impulse will generate. That's why nerve impulse keep from one node of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier. Fine. And finally it will reach to the end, and it causes release of neurotransmitter, and information wherever have to go, that stimulus, it will go. This is what called generation and conduction of action potential. Now many kind of question can be asked. What are the major factor that maintain minus 70 millivolt charge at resting state? So major factor, is sodium potassium pump. The sodium potassium pump maintain minus 70 millivolt charge mainly, and next major factor is potassium ion voltage gated channel. Potassium ion voltage gated channel causes efflux of potassium ion. Now one more question: What is region that potassium ion concentration inside the cell is high and outside the cell sodium ion concentration is high? Region is the sodium potassium pump. Sodium potassium pump is consuming lot of energy. They are consuming lot of ATP, and they will always pump 2 potassium ion inside the cell and 3 sodium ion outside the cell. That's why this charge will be maintained. Okay, so we completed how nerve impulse generate and then how it conduct. Remaining we'll see in next video. Bye.